Welcome to Kitchen Chat. This is where we sample the talents of the most notorious chefs, home cooks, foodies, and celebrities that sizzle. Get ready for a culinary journey that you won't find anywhere else. Here's the host of Kitchen Chat, Margaret McSweeney.
Hello, dear foodie friends, and welcome to Kitchen Chat. This is your host, Margaret McSweeney, and I'm so glad you are joining me on this delicious journey. Today, we have a special Kitchen Chat with Kevin Boehm, co-owner and co-founder of Boca Restaurant Group. Before meeting Kevin in person at the 2015 James Beard Awards in Chicago, I had a kitchen chat by phone with him and his business partner, Rob Katz, co-owner and co-founder of Boca Restaurant Group. Since 2015, Kevin has been on Kitchen Chat several times, both on and off the red carpet. I cheered him on in 2019 as he and Rob won the James Beard Award for Outstanding Restaurateur. We recently had a kitchen chat to celebrate his new book, The Bottomless Cup, a memoir of secrets, restaurants, and forgiveness. Let's welcome Kevin Boehm back to Kitchen Chat.
I appreciate it. It's been a couple of years, though, since we've done it.
It has, but so many great things have been happening in your life. You have created something from your life story with great lessons, not only that you have learned, but for you to share. So tell us about it. Fill us up.
It's a personal book. I think the book's a bit of a Trojan horse because I think that most people think that it's going to be this book that's just about my restaurant career. And even though that's in the book, I think it's more of the B story than it is the A story. I have a strange family background. And, you know, the first line of the book is, in the summer of 1989, halfway through a Western omelet and a cup of coffee, I found out that I wasn't really Kevin Boehm. I came from strange stock, and I've held up the family tradition. My mom was one of 14 kids who grew up on a farm in North Michigan. And, you know, had a terrible childhood, you know, was farm labor at age 6, you know, got up at 4:30 in the morning at age 6, you know, and suffered abuse from family members, both physical and sexual abuse, and got away to high school and said, I'm going to be valedictorian of this high school, and I'm never going to come back to Roscommon, Michigan. And that's what she did. She got a free ride to Central Michigan. She married very young. You know, out of that, a lot more trouble began. And sometimes, you know, it's the legacy of family trauma. And I was part of that legacy. And so that's kind of where the book opens up at. Me at breakfast with a stranger, finding out things about my life that I didn't know. You know what's interesting is when you wake up and when you grow up in a house where you're not necessarily liked, you think that the only way that you can be liked is through invention. So I decided to invent somebody, and the person I invented was in the restaurant business. I invented a restaurateur. And so after going to college, I dropped out. You know, I was, 36 years ago, I was living in my car in the panhandle of Florida. And I wrote my first beautiful piece of fiction, which was a resume with a bunch of restaurants on it that had all mysteriously gone out of business, so they couldn't call for a reference check. And so I talked my way into a captain's job at a restaurant. And the first week I was there, I knew I'd found my people. And, you know, I lived in this very quiet, sometimes sad house that I grew up in that I've always referred to as the sad little blue house. And the restaurants were the exact opposite of the world I grew up in, which was like we threw a party every night and it was really fun. And the people in the restaurant business were dangerous and cool and interesting, knew a lot about food and wine. And I was like, I'm in. You know, tell me where to sign up. And I got this incredible shot of dopamine from doing that. And in the book, you know, I talk about my mom was bipolar, my mom's mom was bipolar, and I was. And I was a bipolar denier. And I was like, I just need to keep creating these manic moments that I felt in the restaurant business. And so for a long time, you know, the restaurant business saved my life. It was my lifeline and my shot of adrenaline every single night. And so I was meant to be in it for a lot of reasons.
You found your home.
I created these little homes in all the restaurants I worked in and owned, and they became like my little sanctuary for a long, long time. Amazing. Until they didn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
But why food? You said you created this character who's in the restaurants. What made you decide food?
I remember going into a restaurant as a kid, and we didn't go out to eat a lot, but there was one particular Mother's Day, we went to a restaurant called Southern Air, and we went there for brunch in Springfield, Illinois, and I just loved the whole scene, you know, the servers in tuxedos and, you know, the classic maitre d' who greeted us at the front. I'm like, they throw a party every night, and a bunch of people come, and then they clean it up, and they do it again the next day. And that was what I thought the restaurant business was. I mean, it's really not that far from the truth. But I was like, that's good. Yeah, I'm into that. I loved the idea of me creating something and people, it'd be being so compelling that people came to it every night. And I was this very gregarious, talkative kid in a house with very repressed people who didn't talk at all. And so when I heard this boisterousness inside of a restaurant, I'm like, okay. Yeah, sign me up for that. I'll do that.
Amazing. And it ended up saving your life.
Yeah, truly.
So if we could talk about that, because there are a lot of people, especially post-pandemic, who have been dealing with mental health issue struggles. What advice do you have for someone who might still be struggling with bipolar or whatever?
Yeah, well, first of all, deal with it. And really think about where you're at in life. I was a denier. I went to a therapist for the first time when I was 26 years old, and she told me she thought that I was bipolar after this hour-and-a-half evaluation. And I told her to go F herself. I was like, that's not what this is. I thought that I was going to go in and basically get an Advil, and I was going to feel better after one session. And when she told me that, I felt like she was being critical of me. And I was like, you don't know me. And I stormed out. And I never saw a therapist again until I was 50 years old.
Wow.
And so, you know, that first step is to like have as much investment in your own mental health as you do your physical health, as you do your career, as you do who you choose to walk through this life with. You only get one of these vessels. And it's a tricky vessel, man. And this thing's really tricky. And so I was, you know, kind of behind the eight ball from the beginning because of what I inherited. And, you know, fortunately, I was able to, you know, kind of understand these things later in life before it was too late. You know, there's a moment in the book that's scary and like rock bottom, if you survive it, is a gift. And a lot of people don't survive it. There's a million stories of people who either have drug or alcohol abuse or mental health issues and suicide. And if you can survive rock bottom, and for me, I felt like I had just like this free time. It was like, you know, they're like, okay, well, I survived that, so what am I going to do? And I threw the kitchen sink at it. And I said, here's the 20 things that I need to do to change in my life. And I'm super grateful that all that happened because I have an entirely new life and a much better one.
And congratulations.
Thanks.
And thank you for sharing it. So if anyone is struggling with that, reach out. There is no shame.
There's no shame. There's more help than there's ever been before.
Yes.
Like, yes, in the 1970s, I mean, people would shame you for it. They don't anymore.
Right.
And, you know, one thing I do every single year is because we are evolutionary creatures, is that every year I'm a little bit different. So I look at the recipe of my life, write it all down. I keep a recipe card of what I want to change every single year and how I want to approach the world differently. And yeah, I'm glad, you know, there's a lot of things about this world right now that aren't great. The fact that we talk about mental health more is good.
And we'll focus on the positive and the delicious aspects of life.
There's a whole bunch of delicious aspects of life.
Yes, which you have been so key in creating. You are such an essential part of the Chicago culinary scene. You have done so much for the community. You've been, of course, accoladed, James Beard Award, so many different things. How many restaurants are you up to now?
Well, in my life, I've opened 50.
Oh, my goodness.
So over the last 33 years. So 46 of which I've done with Rob Katz, my partner at Boca Restaurant Group. So him and I are still buddies. We had lunch today. Still dining together after all these years. Still enjoying each other's company.
How did you two meet?
Him and I had a cup of coffee at Nookie's in Old Town in 2001. And we, some friends had put us together. Rob had been in the nightclub business, was looking to get in the restaurant business. I was looking to come to Chicago. I'd been in the South. And we were supposed to meet for 15 minutes. We met for 4 hours. At the end of 4 hours, one of us said, we can't remember, said, let's open a restaurant together. What's the worst that could happen? And so and then here we are 24 years later.
Amazing. Amazing.
And the first restaurant we did was Boca together. It's still open.
And I celebrated a big birthday. I had 60th birthday a few years ago.
Congratulations.
There. I still have the menu, and it was just such a special experience. So thank you
awesome.
for all that you do for your team and everything. So in this book, it seems like there are a lot of life lessons, but also industry lessons. What would you say to someone out there who's like, you know what, I'm thinking about the culinary industry?
Well, I'll back that up just a little bit, because I think all these things have to fit into, certain pillars in life.
Yes.
And so to me it is, one, do I have purpose in life? And is my reasoning behind that purpose a noble one? It's not because I want to exact revenge on somebody. It's not because of only money. It's not because of only ego. And then two, do I run into the people that I love and respect doing that journey? And then three, how do I feel about myself in the world?
Yes.
So if the restaurant business includes all three of those things, you want to do it for the right reason. Because yes, you can be successful. Yes, you can make money in the restaurant business. But if you don't like to take care of people, you won't go that far. It'll just be too taxing on you, because the general public's tough. And so if you don't like people, it's going to be rough, man. It's going to be rough if you don't like people. It is. So I would say, if you like people, and you like taking care of people, and you like throwing a party like I do, those are all great things. But at the same time, that's the art side. Intersection of art and commerce, of financial responsibility and artistry. If you can do those two things, you can survive, because it's hard to make money in, and it's hard to set yourself apart. But man, I love drawing new pictures. Years ago, I had a customer come in, and he asked me, and I knew him well enough that he was like, hey, how's it going? I was like, it's rough right now. And he was like, and we got this opening and this opening, and his son was drawing a picture, and his son looked up, he's like, it is so hard, why do you keep doing it? And I was like, I go, see that picture you're drawing? He's like, yeah. I go, what if that was the only picture that you could draw? He goes, well, that would be really boring. And I was like, yes, I like drawing new pictures.
Amazing.
I said, it's not always easy, but I like drawing new pictures. And so to me, that's the gas in life for me. That's what gets me adrenalized, is new projects, new ideation, pulling levers, trying things, seeing if the general public likes them or not.
Yes.
And everyone one of the joys of my life.
Everyone loves what you create. I mean,
not always.
No. What has been?
Not always. Not everybody. Okay. But that's part of the fun. Is that, like, I think if you're not trying hard enough, you're not taking it to the edge, then then nothing will. You'll fail sometimes if you're taking it to the edge. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Is like, if you're trying hard, you're going to fail sometimes, and that's okay.
And that is okay. So what is it that happened? It wasn't a win, but more of a loss, that you really learned a great lesson from?
Well, the first thing that ever didn't work for me was I opened 3 restaurants in my 20s and done really, really well. And I got my feathers too high in the air, and I was like, I'm a genius. Why doesn't everybody do this? And then I opened up a restaurant in Nashville, and it didn't work. And after 6 months of pointing fingers, I was able to look at it and look at myself in the mirror and say, be a good detective and say, hey, the buck stops with you, kid. And I'd gotten bigger each time, but I took my eye off the ball a little bit, and I stopped being a student, and I figured out that if you're going to win in this business, you're going to have to keep being a student for the rest of your life. Because people keep changing, food keeps changing, trends keep changing, the way you motivate people keeps changing. Yes. The way you motivate the staffs now is completely different than the staffs that I first dealt with in the early 90s.
So how has it changed? People
want more balance. You can't talk to people like people talked to me when I first started working in a restaurant.
No one should ever talk to
No, listen, the late 1980s was not a kind place in restaurants, especially in high-end restaurants. And so, understanding how to get the best out of everybody. Pre-shift, the 30 minutes before you open up a restaurant, is specifically designed to have people at their optimal adrenalized level that they can take care of people from a hospitality perspective. Yes, you're telling them about, new food and the wines you're serving on the menu and helping with that arsenal of information, but you also want to leave them feeling great so they can be in a really good mood and serve people. And that's more needed than ever. And I think what's really changed is there's for my really good managers, there's the post shift after the pre shift, where you see somebody who's not doing well and you're like, hey, Tommy, you doing okay? Yeah, what's going on, man? Tell me. And you're this little analyst every single night, and which is the exact opposite of I remember one of my first managers telling me hey man, I don't want to hear about your problems. Leave your baggage at the door. And so I think that is. That's not conducive to having a happy dining room. And fortunately for me, I've always had a pretty good energy radar of whether people like to be there or not.
Yes. So hospitality, that's the bottom line of it. Financial literacy, that's such a key component.
Well, I think it's food.
Yes,
I think it's,
of course.
My friend says that service is black and white and hospitality is color. But you need both of them.
Okay.
Service is the rules. Hospitality is how you make people feel.
Yeah.
So it's food, service, and hospitality. Design, because it's a tricky one, man. Design makes people feel good. It really does. I don't know what it is, but I just feel good in the space.
Yes.
And underlying all those things is financial responsibility. If I had to go back in time, I would have gone to CIA at Hyde Park.
So you did not go
I didn't go to culinary school.
Wow.
Two, you go work in a restaurant, you understand the general public, you run a front door, you work as a captain, you work as a busser, you do all those positions. You learn how to not only deal with the public, but deal with the team. You learn all the service rules. I serve from the left side with my left hand to keep my body open to the guests and learn all those things. You read Charlie Trotter's Lessons in Service, and then you get a core food knowledge, and you know what a true baseline of things should taste like. The best food critics in the world know what crawfish etouffee should taste like. So then they can judge the one they're trying at this restaurant based on a perfect example of it. And then you learn all the little things about finances.
Yes.
How do you make money in this business? What are the formulas? What are the benchmark numbers? How do you manage food cost? How do you look at a P&L and decide what's off on it or what's right on it? And so it's studying. I got my bachelor's, master's, and my doctorate in restaurants by opening up restaurants when I was young and failing a lot. And saying, well, that didn't work.
So any trends that you're seeing in terms of what's next in
I'll just say this, that the new generation of people do not like things that are mass produced like the people in the 70s, 80s, and 90s did. They like at least perceived scarcity. I'll give you a really good example of perceived scarcity. In-N-Out Burger. There are no In-N-Out Burgers in the Midwest.
No,
they still sell $1 billion in food. So it is perceived scarcity. They sell a lot, but it's only in certain places in the United States. They did before. They like things in small bunches. 6 of them, 8 of them. That's one of the things we've always done is try to keep our company bespoke. We've not done our concepts over again very many times. We haven't replicated that often. We did a Girl and the Goat here in Chicago. We did one in LA. We did a Cabra here. We did a Cabra in LA. We did a couple of Gigi's Chickens. But for the most part, we go out and we do a new concept each time.
Amazing. Back to the coloring.
Back to the coloring. I mean, it just gets kind of boring drawing the same picture over and over again. God bless to all those guys that do.
Yes.
And they can figure it out. It's just not our bag.
Absolutely. Any international restaurants yet?
Not yet. Not with. We've certainly had the conversations. We have a lot outside of Chicago now. We're about to open 3 in Nashville that are coming in April. And so we just opened in St. Petersburg, Florida. We just opened in Silicon Valley. And so we've got several outside of Chicago now. We have a few in New York, including Laser Wolf, that's really successful. So.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
And now you have a book that encapsulates your life. What was the biggest takeaway for you that surprised you in writing this, that you said, wow, that really happened, and I really learned this and can teach others.
Well, I keep telling everybody, it's like everybody should write their own life story. And if you're willing to go into it and like kind of strip all the coats of varnish off all these stories that you've told for a long, long time and really try to get to the truth of it, you'll learn a lot about yourself. So I think I was surprised at how much I had to think about moments in my life to get them right and to write them correctly. And afterwards, looking back on it, I had a much truer sense of who I really was over the years. And you're not one person over the years. There are 5 or 6 different versions of you. And I didn't like every version that I wrote about. But I wrote them as they were. I didn't gloss any of those versions up. So not every chapter was a joy to write always. So like, God, I don't even like this guy right now. But I also look back on a lot of them and we're like, man, God bless that kid, you know? And so it's been a long and winding road. And man, I was so grateful that, like, you know, the publisher actually wanted to print the story. I mean, you know, that like it's, and I'm so grateful that I got to do it, and that every day I got to get up and write, because it became like a meditation for me. And I was really bummed when it was over. And so people keep asking, hey, is there a number? How many books do you want to sell? I was like, I want to sell exactly the amount of books that they let me write another book. Because I really love writing. I've been writing my whole life, and this is a dream come true that I got to write a book. And God bless Abrams for publishing my book. And
Kevin, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad we got to do this again. I appreciate it.
Oh, same here. And congratulations on all that you've done and all that is ahead for you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
What an inspiration to spend time with Kevin and discuss his new book, The Bottomless Cup, a memoir of secrets, restaurants, and forgiveness. He is a hallmark of hospitality. Please visit www.bocagrp.com for more information about his restaurants and order a copy of his book. And thank you, dear foodie friends, for joining me on this delicious journey. On a side note, you never know what someone is going through. So please always be kind and always remember to take a moment and savor the day.